Hey, you sexy donuts! Welcome back to Boogie Games, the one-stop shop where we cover everything to do with horror, mainly slashers, but again, we're mainly covering stuff from the 80s to the 90s. Sometimes we venture as far into the early 2000s or back as the 70s. We even sprinkle in a little bit of classic action, Rambo, Terminator, RoboCop, Predator, etc. Stuff with some horror elements, but also classic action, like Aliens. But I digress. Today's video, we're going to cover a topic that we've been kind of covering, which is timeline videos, ways that you can watch these types of videos. I'm going to keep it short and sweet, that way you're not bored to death, on all the different ways that you can watch all your favorite movies with all the movies within the franchise. First we did Halloween, then Friday the 13th, and now we're on Nightmare on Elm Street. That's right, folks. Today's Freddy's Day, and we're going to be talking about all the different ways that you can watch his movies. Starting with the first one, the purest timeline, where it's just Wes Craven's literal Nightmare on Elm Street. You just end it there. No sequels, no nothing. Freddy dies there. Now, I kind of like a good chunk of the sequels, but then you can move on to Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 2, Freddy's Revenge. It's pretty definitive. You can end it there. And even if you want to take a step further and wrap up the trilogy with Dream Warriors, you can. And that gives you the full trilogy, brings Nancy full circle, the whole shebang. And if you want to take a step further, and the best four movies of the franchise, for me at least, is Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, 3, and 4. So that gives you Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy's Revenge, Dream Warriors, and Dream Master. That for me, Dream Child's when things start to fall off and it's more comical Freddy, which I enjoy moments of. I think 5 is honestly the last good one we got, aside from Freddy vs. Jason. New Nightmare is good as well, but as far as like Freddy at his peak, it kind of dies down once we get to Freddy's Dead, which we're getting to right now. Which brings me into the next way that you can watch it. After moving on from 4, you just move on to 5 and 6, Dream Child and Freddy's Dead. And of course, like the title suggests, that is a very definitive ending as well, if you want it to be. It's not a great ending, but it is definitive. Kind of like Ends with Michael Myers. But, yeah, I don't like ending it there. Then, of course, you can move on to the New Nightmare timeline, which is just the New Nightmare. If you want to, I guess, watch the first one, keep in mind, though, that takes place in our world, the New Nightmare does. So, therefore, the Nightmare on Elm Street movie is a movie, like we know and love. So, it's not really necessary to watch it. Honestly, New Nightmare is its own movie and its own thing. So, moving on from that, we also get Freddy vs. Jason. I count Freddy vs. Jason in the main timeline, which I consider Nightmare on Elm Street 1, obviously, and then Freddy's Revenge, Dream Warriors, Dream Master, Dream Child, and then Freddy's Dead. And then after Freddy's Dead, because there are moments of that, we get Freddy vs. Jason. It's Robert Englund in his prime. Unfortunately, the last time he fully reprises his role in a movie. And that is my ultimate timeline. Then, of course, there's the remake timeline with just the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. We all know and feel how we feel about that movie. But that's a video for another day where we talk about 5 things at least we like. Let's spread some positivity. It's 2024. There is enough shit going on out there in the world. We don't need to be spreading negativity. So let's take a look at the worst of the franchises. Find 5 things that we like about them and move on with our day. That's our part for the day. So, look forward to that video. But as far as timelines to discuss, my favorite timeline to watch is personally Nightmare on Elm Street 1 to 6, and then Freddy vs. Jason. And end things off with Freddy vs. Jason. That's a good way to end things if you want to believe that Jason wins. I like to think it was kind of close to a draw. Obviously it's painted as Jason won, but the way it ends with the wink, it's just Freddy's, there's room for him to continue, but you can also say, he went out on a bang fighting Jason versus a pipe bomb. That's how I like to end it. It's Freddy freaking Krueger. For crying out loud, we need some Freddy freaking Krueger type of ending. So that's my thoughts And that's pretty much the gambit. I mean, you can go with the remake timeline, just a remake if you're not a big fan of the classic movies. I know my wife isn't. She really doesn't like watching the older stuff. So if that's your cup of tea, watch the remake. And if you really like kind of turning stuff on its head type of thing, New Nightmare Timeline is for you. But for me, there's no reason why you can't fit all of them into 7-movie timeline, ending things off with Freddy vs. Jason, unless you want the kind of the best ones, which is the first 4, is kind of at its peak, if you will. And I guess if you wanted to throw Freddy vs. Jason in there, you can. But at the very opening, there's scenes from the later movies, so it doesn't really, carry any weight unless you just want to have those scenes there and just ignore them. But that is my suggestion. That's how I watch them every year. I do end up watching them all on Freddy Krueger Day, and I just kind of start with my least favorite timelines, moving up with the remake if I'm feeling froggy or drunk, and then New Nightmare I rewatch once every year, and then the main timeline starting with Nightmare on Elm Street, moving my way up through Revenge, Dream Warriors, Dream Master, Dream Child, Freddy's Dead, and then Freddy vs. Jason. So what do you guys think? Which timeline are you going to watch this Halloween? Which timeline do you like the best? Which one seems more suited for you? And if you have any timelines I didn't mention, if you have your own way of watching them, comment down below. I'd love to hear it and love to try to watch them that way and think about them that way. So comment down below all that. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next video. And if always you love everything horror, subscribe.